And good evening, East Alabama and West Georgia. Dr. Don with you on your Monday night. It is halftime of the national championship ball game that's underway on television this evening. And we thought we would jump in here and spend a few minutes with you and kind of bring you up to date on what's going on weather-wise. We have a very vigorous storm system off to our west that is moving into the southeastern United States. You can see right there we've got rain that has already begun across central Alabama and east Alabama back over into west Georgia, now moving into the Atlanta metro area. And this is going to continue for most of the night. We're even seeing some thunder and lightning down there around Montgomery, all the way back up to just south of Birmingham. We're beginning to see that as well. Now, we have several weather watches that are out there. We are looking at a flash flood watch that's in effect for East Alabama and West Georgia. And we also have a wind advisory that's in effect for that area as well. We could be looking at winds gusting 35, 40 miles per hour, certainly plausible from time to time. But here's the deal. What's happening is up in the upper levels of the atmosphere, we have that sustained wind at 30 to 40 miles per hour, and we've got to get some decent precipitation going to push that wind down to the surface to get it really gusty at the ground. And we think that will happen during the heavier rain showers. Those yellows that you see on the screen or on the radar, that's the heavier rain showers. And when we have those heavier showers, and certainly the red, that's when we would expect that gusty wind to come down to the surface. And we're talking, again, 30, 35, maybe even peaking at around 40 miles per hour from time to time. I'm not particularly concerned about severe weather across East Alabama and West Georgia. I think any severe weather that develops tonight primarily will be south of the I-85 corridor in Alabama and in Georgia. And I think you really have to go down there to the southern tier of counties in Alabama and to northwest Florida for the absolute best chance of seeing thunderstorms and tornadoes this evening. And I'll show you a couple of products here in just a few moments. It kind of backs up my way of thinking on that. And the Weather Service is saying the same thing. Could we see a rogue, strong to marginally severe storm across East Alabama and West Georgia? Certainly we could. But the further south you go, the better dynamics down close to the coast. And that's where I think the best chances for severe weather will be. Now, if you're watching us down there in Baldwin, Mobile, counties of South Alabama, the Gulf Coast, Mobile area, Gulf Shores, Dauphin Island, over toward Orange Beach, even Pensacola, and eventually even over toward Panama City. You guys really need to pay attention to the weather this evening as we go throughout the overnight hours, because we could be looking at some tornadic activity down there. Good news is we haven't seen any storms go tornadic in the last several hours. I mean, we did have a tornadic thunderstorm near Houston about an hour and a half before the ball game started tonight. But that line has since moved through the Houston area, and that's no longer a threat there. The tornado threat would basically be along that main line of thunderstorms that won't even make it into the Mobile area probably until 2 or 3 a.m., so we've got a while before that would happen. You'll notice down there around New Orleans, there is a tornado watch down there, and that stretches all the way over to the Alabama-Mississippi state line. So that's where the best threat of severe weather will be. So what does it mean for East Alabama and West Georgia? It means a lot of rain. Let's go back up and take a look at a couple of graphics, and then we'll come back to the radar, and I'll start from the north and go all the way to the south and dissect what's happening out there at the moment. So here's the severe thunderstorm or severe weather threat for tonight. And you can see that the only part of our coverage area of East Alabama and West Georgia that's even included in a severe threat would be basically Coosa, Tallapoosa, Chambers, Lee, and then in Georgia that would be Troup County, and Harris County, and that would be a marginal risk. That's a 1 out of 5, so very small chance of seeing severe weather anywhere across East Alabama and West Georgia. But if you go below I-85, you get down there in the greater Columbus area, and I know we've got Columbus folks in here watching us, Phoenix City, Columbus, you're in that slight risk area, so that means you have a 2 out of 5. And then if you go down there to around Eufaula and Troy, south and southwest, you get into that enhanced risk category, which is a 3 out of 5. So certainly a much better chance of seeing significant severe weather down there across the Wiregrass area, back over toward Andalusia, maybe back over toward Monroeville. And then, of course, the Mobile and Baldwin counties, and then down there across northwest Florida as well. Timing on all of this, we're talking the severe threat probably after 2 a.m. before it gets into southwest Alabama, and then across southeast Alabama or south of the I-85 corridor, we're talking 6 a.m. through about 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. So this is a very slow-moving system, and it has the potential of dumping a lot of rain as it moves through the southeast tonight and into tomorrow. Here's the highest expected wind gust, and this is what I think is going to bring the biggest threat to East Alabama and West Georgia. And you can see there right along that higher terrain that stretches from northern Cleburne County down through Calhoun, the Anniston-Oxford area, then back down toward Mount Cheaha, and right down that stair step between Talladega and Clay. We're talking wind gust up to 47, 48, maybe even 50 miles per hour up at the highest elevations. When you get down to just regular terrain, we're talking about places like Talladega, Sylacauga, Childersburg, Ashland, Lineville, and then Wedowee, Woodland, Wadley, Roanoke, and then even on down into Tallapoosa County, Alexander City, Dadeville, Lafayette, Auburn, and then LaGrange and Franklin, even Carrollton. We're talking, probably in the 30 to 35 mile per hour peak wind gust. That doesn't mean it's going to be sustained at that speed the entire time. That means those are the highest peak gust we can expect, and that would happen when the heavier rain is falling. Again, we'll go back to the radar in a moment, and I'll show you where you see the reds and yellows on the screen. That's where I would expect to see the strongest wind, because that wind is sustained up at about 5,000 feet. So when we get precipitation on top of it, it will push that wind to the surface, and that's when we would expect to see the highest wind gust. Of course, it only takes one wind gust of 35, 40 miles per hour, and it could knock over a tree or two. You take that and you spread that out over a large area, and you can see how the potential at least is there to have widespread tree damage, and of course that would bring widespread power outages as well. So that's what we're looking at as far as the wind, and I really do think the wind is going to be the number one threat for East Alabama and West Georgia. Though the severe threat is not zero, it is pretty low across the region this evening. Now let's take a look at the rain forecast, and if this verifies, we're talking about a tremendous amount of rain between now and probably noon tomorrow, when all of this finally gets out of the area. We're looking at 3 to 4 inches of rain across most of East Alabama and West Georgia. So we're talking about 3 to 4 inches of rain in about a 12 to 18 hour period. That's a lot of water, so there could certainly be some localized flooding as well, especially those flood-prone areas. If you live in the area, you know where those locations are, and you're going to want to avoid those locations if indeed we do get this kind of rain. And we have moderate rain taking place out there right now, and it stretches all the way back to Texas. So it's here for at least the duration of the overnight hours and most likely up until around noon tomorrow. So it certainly looks plausible that we could end up with 3 to 4 inches of rain across the area. That 3 to 4 inch category is like right up I-85 from Montgomery, up 65 from Mobile to Montgomery, and then 85 from Montgomery all the way up through Atlanta. And even up into South Carolina. We think that 3 to 4 inch looks pretty good right along the I-85 corridor. And up here in the northeast Georgia mountains, up against the backside of the mountains, we could get some extra forcing taking place because of the elevation of the mountains. We could be looking at 5 to 6 inches of rain in some locations up here in northeast Georgia. So it's going to be a long night, and it's going to be a very wet and windy night across East Alabama and West Georgia. Again, I would not be overly concerned about tornadoes or even severe thunderstorms across East Alabama and West Georgia. I think the better chances for that are going to be way down there in South Alabama. So bear with me just a moment. We're going to get some things set up here, and I am going to show you some stuff on the radar that I want to bring to your attention. First thing I want to do is stop this loop. Let's bring it current and stop it right there. And let's turn the telestrator on. I'm going to point out a few things for you. I'm going to draw circles around areas where I would anticipate the strongest winds to be taking place right now. These heavier showers that are embedded within this huge area of rain. Everywhere where you see yellow, that's where the heavier rain showers are taking place, and that's where the best opportunity is to transport some of the wind from up there around 5 to 10,000 feet down to the surface. If you look back over there in Mississippi, let me clear that off right quick, and then we'll come back over. We have one thunderstorm down here running right up I-65. So I would expect some pretty heavy rainfall in that there just north of Andalusia. We're beginning to see some kidney-shaped storms down here in South Alabama also. So that's kind of an indication that some of those storms may be getting or intensifying at this hour. But, you know, you look at this stuff right here, south and southeast of Jackson, Mississippi, certainly 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts taking place in these storms at this hour. And you see that these storms are moving in this general direction. So we got to see if these storms can kind of hold together. And they may end up over here in East Alabama several hours from now. We're probably talking closer to daybreak before these storms would make it into East Alabama and West Georgia. So let me clear that off, and now we're going to go in a little tighter on the radar. I'm going to show you East Alabama and West Georgia. There we go, and of course our coverage area is pretty much between I-20 and I-85 and east of I-65 in Alabama, then in Georgia, pretty much between I-20 and I-85 and west of Atlanta. But this is all just mostly rain that's taking place now, and gusty winds included. Let me turn this radar off, and I want to go over to NextRad, and let's look at Birmingham first. I'm sorry. We're going to look at Atlanta first. The computer has made my mind up for me. And see, you can see some of these embedded yellows here, just southwest of Ashland down to around Alexander City and Tuskegee. So, you know, some gusty winds could certainly be taking place in those locations. Let's see if we can make it over to Birmingham. We do have thunder and lightning out there in some locations. I got one viewer that's watching us that's reporting some thunder and lightning in the Tallahassee area. Birmingham is slow. There it is. All right, so let's go back over and So Tallahassee is down here. Closest strike I see is south of Montgomery. But now understand, folks, thunder and lightning carries a long, long way in setups like this, especially when it's cooler than usual. This is not a typical summertime or springtime setup. As it's very cold out there, comparatively speaking. It's pretty chilly out there, so thunder and lightning is going to carry a long way, but there certainly could be some lightning strikes taking place up here that our system just isn't detecting just yet. But anywhere you see the yellows, there could be thunder and lightning and gusty winds. So understand that as you're looking at the radar as we go throughout the night. The yellows and reds is where the heavier winds and where the thunder and lightning could be taking place. Again, there's that storm we were telling you about down there south of Greenville. It's southeast of Pineapple, southwest of Greenville, north of McKenzie. They're around Georgiana, crossing over I-65. I would anticipate some pretty significant wind most likely taking place with that storm. We can go jump over here and, oh, that's noisy. That's not going to give us a good look. And that's pretty noisy as well. I was going to try to see if I can pick up any wind in any of this. Well, understand this is not at the surface. This is up in the so right there north of Montgomery, some pretty strong winds up in the upper levels of the atmosphere. Let's go back to the radar and see what kind of precipitation we have going on right there. See, there's right there. So probably western Autauga County. You probably got some pretty strong winds out there. And then again, it's correlating with those yellows and reds. That's where the wind is going to be because it's being pushed down from the upper levels of the atmosphere. So let me go back over to the overall composite here. And we'll get that back up. If you have any questions, now's a good time to post them in the chat room. And if you're experiencing any power outages or power fluctuations, let us know about that as well. See, there's a question. There's a good question from Christine. When should we expect the severe weather to hit Columbus? I'm not sure you have severe weather in Columbus if you're talking about severe thunderstorms and tornadoes. Now, gusty winds, 35, 40 miles per hour. You know, if that takes down a tree and knocks it onto the roof of your home, then that's pretty severe. And we have non-thunderstorm winds that'll take place this evening away from severe weather. So I don't want folks to get really focused on, oh, well, he said there's not going to be severe weather at my house, so I'm good. I don't want you to get focused on that. I just got to make sure everybody understands we're talking two different types of wind here. We have the severe thunderstorm and tornado wind, then we have non-thunderstorm wind. The non-thunderstorm wind is going to be nonstop all night long if you're under one of those rain showers where you see the yellows and reds. Right now, we don't see much of that in East Alabama or West Georgia. Nothing going on down there in Columbus other than some rain at the moment as well. So understand, I really do believe the severe thunderstorm activity and the tornadic activity is going to be limited to extreme South Alabama, Northwest Florida, and maybe southern Georgia through the nighttime hours. Then tomorrow afternoon, those storms may fire up again across East Georgia. So Columbus, I really think you're in a big question mark right there. I mean, you're in a marginal to slight risk category in the Columbus area. Watch this stuff over here in southern Mississippi. If you're going to have any marginally severe storms in Columbus, that's where it's going to come from. These storms over here south of Jackson, south of Meridian, stretching all the way back to Baton Rouge, that's what would come across the Columbus area. And that won't be until probably daybreak. So you've got multiple hours to go before we would expect to see any strong to marginally severe storms in Columbus. Again, I think there's a big question mark as to whether we see that in Columbus or not. But remain aware, though, as we go throughout the remainder of this evening. So I'm going to go back up here and kind of scroll through the the comments. Tammy's wanting to know if it's going to snow. That's her first question every time I go live. No snow for Rock Mills. I mean, hey, well, wait a minute. Now, let me say no. It's possible we could have some wraparound tomorrow night where you could see a flake or two. But we're not talking about any accumulating snow. Rock Mills is in the house. Hey, Deborah, good to see you in here this evening. Eugene Foshi, good to see you, Mr. Eugene. Cindy Bain, thank you, Cindy. Let's see. Crystal Adamson's watching. Good to see you, Crystal. Lineville's in the house. LaGrange is watching us. Hey, Mike. Cindy Smith watching us from Roanoke. We hadn't spent a whole lot of time together here lately, folks. We've had a long stretch here with no real significant weather to discuss. Linda Stevens, good to see you. Denise is watching us in Roanoke. Hickory Flats is in the house here. There's Jimmy Stevens, one of our supporters here with Jimmy Stevens Construction. Hughley, Alabama, watching us. Hey, Diane, watching us from Lynette. Rockstan's watching us. There's Opelika. Sue Smith's watching us in Roanoke. Folsom Crossroads, Wedowee. Debbie Burke-Smith. Lineville's watching us this evening. Darlene is watching us in Wadley. Looks like Tammy's son-in-law is in the house. Hey, Josh. Woodland's watching. Rock Mills. Ron Dewberry from Hoover, Alabama. Hey, Ron, it is good to see you in here. There's a friend from way back yonder. Ron and I got to know each other in the middle of Snow Jam '93 and Hurricane Opal. We got to know each other pretty good during Hurricane Opal as well. Two big, huge storms there in East Alabama back in the '90s. Ron, of course, was with Alabama Power at that time. Mohawk in Roanoke, Alabama's watching us. There's Auburn, Troup County, Lafayette. Don't have a list of the schools. I can tell you we've been planning and working all day long up here in Northeast Georgia, and all of our schools up here have decided to call it off tomorrow just to be on the safe side. But I hadn't heard about East Alabama and West Georgia. I hadn't seen a lot about schools on Facebook, so I'm not sure we're going to do anything with schools tomorrow. This might be one of those situations where you want to kind of wait and see, because I'm telling you, it's real iffy for East Alabama and West Georgia, other than the non-thunderstorm winds. There'll be plenty of those. All right, we got a brand new tornado watch that's just been issued by the Storm Prediction Center. And let's see if we can get this up here where I can see it. All right, so in Alabama, the watch is going to cover Baldwin, Butler, Choctaw, Clark, Coffee, Conecuh, Covington, Crenshaw, Dale, Escambia, Geneva, Henry, Houston, Mobile, Monroe, Washington, and Wilcox. That it covers all of the Northwest Florida counties. And let's see if we can get until 7 a.m. So that's a new tornado watch. It covers southwest Alabama and the southern tier of counties, right across the southern part of Alabama, back over toward Dothan. Does not make it up into the Columbus area. Does not make it to Phoenix City. None of our East Alabama or West Georgia counties are covered under this tornado watch. And so, again, that goes back to what I was saying. I think that's where the largest severe threat is going to be as we go throughout the overnight hours. And I'm just gonna draw a box here. This is going to be in Alabama. That basically is the area where the best severe threat is going to be. And you see that's south of Columbus, but not by much. So if you're in Columbus, you do need to pay attention. But I think inside that red box is where the best chance for severe weather is going to be as we go throughout the overnight hours. Carrollton, Georgia is in the house. There is Wadley. Yeah, I don't think you get severe in Beulah. Strong winds when those heavier showers take place, 25, 35, maybe 40 mile per hour wind gust. Now, folks, that can bring down trees. This is, I don't think we're looking at tornado outbreak across Beulah, but you certainly could have some pretty nasty winds. And very heavy rainfall. The main line where we could see some rumbles of thunder across East Alabama won't even be in here until after sunrise in the morning. But during the night, occasional wind gust could be a problem. Well, there's me, a Georgia Emergency Management Agency field coordinator. Hey, Carrie. Happening in Metter, Georgia. Folks, looking at the latest observations from across Alabama, just some wind gust out there. Alexander City is sustained at 14, gusting to 22. Anniston is at 13 with a gust of 24. Bessemer, which is around Birmingham, southeast winds at 10, gusting to 20. Birmingham's at 14, gusting to 30. They did measure at the Birmingham airport a 38 mile per hour wind gust a couple of hours ago. Demopolis east at 10, gusting to 20. And let me see if there's Sylacauga coming in at southeast at 15, gusting to 31. That's significant. And then Troy is sustained at 18, gusting to 31. So that'll kind of give you an idea of what the winds are out there this evening. And I'm telling you, that's strong enough to bring down some trees and power lines and cause some issues across East Alabama and West Georgia. If anybody has lost power, if they know of any power outages, y'all post it in the chat room. St. Clair County schools are delaying 2 hours tomorrow. Yes, Corey, Baldwin County is probably in the bullseye, if I had to guess. Baldwin, Mobile, and then over into northwest Florida at the moment looks like the bullseye. And let me just kind of show you what I'm referring to. And this is going to take me just a second to get this set up. I thought I had this already set up, but apparently I did not. So we need a display capture. And I know that's going to look funky on your screen here for just a second. Okay. All right. So this is the STP is what this is called, the Significant Tornado Parameter. And this is a model. And you'll see right there near New Orleans is where the threat is now, maybe just a little bit to the west of New Orleans. You see those dark colors right there, the purples and the reds. That's where the greatest tornado threat is right now. That's where the best energy is. And I'm going to just loop through this and kind of show you that that tornado threat does make it up into southern Mississippi. But you'll notice there in the last couple of loops is starting to, you don't see those dark purples. Let me back up. Like right there is the absolute best, and that's about right now. maybe an hour from now. This is what this is showing. So we should start to see these storms fire up really good as they sweep through Baton Rouge, and by the time they get to New Orleans, they should be rocking pretty well. Then when we bring it on into southern Mississippi, we start to lose those deep colors. But notice we do have some instability stretching up into southwest Alabama. And then you see some of those bright oranges or bright reds and deep orange come back about the time this storm gets over Dauphin Island, down there, Robertstown, all the way back down to Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, Foley, Alabama, and then back over toward Pensacola. That's a pretty good indication of severe weather right there. And then as we move out toward daybreak, it even intensifies a little bit as the storms are pulling away from the Mobile-Baldwin area or the Mobile Bay. And, wow, right there over Pensacola, it just explodes. And then as we move forward in time, we approach daybreak, we start to lose the significant tornado parameter. You see that it's not nearly as significant as it was, and that's getting on into Tuesday. So we'll back it up again, and we'll show you two areas of concern. One being just west of New Orleans and into the Lake Charles area. And then it explodes again when it gets right there over the Mobile Bay and back toward Pensacola. It's a pretty strong indication, maybe up around Andalusia. You know, folks who live down there in that area, you need to make sure they're aware of what's going on. We could certainly have some tornadoes down there. But you'll notice none of that makes it any further north than about Dothan. I mean, we see absolutely no indication on this model of any severe weather problems up in East Alabama or West Georgia or even Columbus. And we have interest down in South Georgia. Now, there's a little bit of instability right there across Albany, and that may stretch up toward Macon as we get into Tuesday. We're approaching lunchtime on Tuesday now, and then we'll see it explode again up there in South Carolina, especially right along the coast, maybe from Charleston on north up into North Carolina. We could see some big storms there as well. So that's kind of the way this thing is playing out. Well, you're welcome, Diane. Fannin County Schools, that's over here in Georgia. They will delay until 2 hours in the morning. Yeah, game's back on, so if y'all got to go watch a game, I understand. I understand. Now, Washington did make it a little more interesting right there before the half. I think Michigan's got this, though. Thank you, Courtney. Hey, Miss Carolyn. Thank you. Well, you know, I tell it like it is. I'm not here to hype up anything or try to get clicks or scream gloom and doom. The world's coming to an end. That's just not the way I present it. I tell you exactly like it is. I tell you what the possibilities are. Y'all know this. Weather is going to do what weather is going to do. My job is to take the data and the information the National Weather Service is providing. Those guys and gals, you know, spend years at Mississippi State learning how to develop these forecasts. I take that information that they put out and I put it in layman's terms, and I come hang out with you guys and tell you what we know. Broadcast television can't do that. Could you just imagine what would happen right now if they interrupted the national championship game to do weather coverage? Of course, if you're watching that ball game and a tornado comes down your street and demolishes your house with your family in it, then you're going to be screaming, won't know why they didn't interrupt that ball game. But yeah, we can do this on social media and online, and we can fine tune that coverage for areas that get left behind by the major television markets. And of course, East Alabama and West Georgia is one of those areas. Atlanta and Birmingham is just not going to give you wall-to-wall television coverage. Folks, they really can't. It's a business thing. It's all about numbers. But we can do that. So that's why we're here. Thank you, Miss Carolyn. I appreciate your kind words. $400 power outages in Carrollton. Well, I'll tell you what we can do. Let's look at Alabama first. So this is currently, we've got some power outage. Looks like Sumter County over in West Alabama. I mean, right now we're talking about 15,000 customers without power statewide. That's out of 2,365,000 customers. Customers that are tracked. There could be some small EMCs in here that are not tracked. But right now we're looking at 10% outage in the state of Alabama. That's for this type of event, that's not too bad. And then let's look at Georgia. Just 2,680 customers without power in the state of Georgia. So power outage-wise, not too bad so far. There's the entire United States. But you can clearly see the track of the storm. I mean, look at that. 10,000 plus without power in Texas, 10,000 plus without power in Louisiana, now Mississippi, Alabama. No question where the storm is. You can see it right there on the national power grid outage map. All right, let's go back here. And we've got some alerts coming in. Let me check this right quick. And then I'm going to recap and we're going to wrap this up. Okay, they've actually issued, and this is not a product that you see very often in the southeastern United States, but the National Weather Service has issued a high wind warning for northeast Georgia, including the county I live in. And this includes cities like Dahlonega, Cleveland, Helen, Hiawassee, Blairsville, Dawsonville. High wind warnings in effect until 1 p.m. Tuesday afternoon. Southeast winds at 20 to 30 miles per hour with gusts of 50 miles per hour. And some of the data I'm looking at up on the higher ridges of the Appalachian Mountains, we could look at 60 and even 70 mile per hour gusts up there are not out of the question. Now, that would be when the very heaviest rain moves through. All right, so let's recap what we know. Let's recap what we know. At this hour. People are asking, what about specific locations? Folks, you'll look on the screen here, you will see, let me just stand by. Let's just do it like this. This is why it's important to know where you are located on a map. If you're inside that circle I just put on the map there, this would include southern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, northwest Florida. Between now and sunrise, that's where the severe weather threat is going to be. If you're north of that, and I'm talking about places like, Montgomery, Columbus, Roanoke, Birmingham, Atlanta, Carrollton, you're going to have some strong wind. And when the heavy rain moves in, that wind's going to intensify. you could have wind gusts 30, 40 miles per hour, and we could be looking at 3 to 4 inches of rain, which could cause some localized flooding. But you're not looking at tornadoes, and you're not looking at severe thunderstorm winds north of about a Jackson to Meridian to Troy to Albany line between now and sunrise. Now, later on in the morning, places like Macon and Augusta, Savannah, Brunswick, Jacksonville could certainly see some strong storms. Auburn Opelika is not in the warning area. Auburn Opelika is north. Now, could you see a strong thunderstorm in the Auburn Opelika area? You could. You're in the marginal risk. And then just south of that, the slight risk kicks in, and then we have that enhanced risk basically inside that red box I just drew on the screen. That's where the absolute best chance for severe weather will be. And I will show you one other thing. You see all of these storms. Let me move the map. You guys see these storms over here about to come into Baton Rouge, Louisiana. That's where the greatest risk is right this moment. That is your line of thunderstorms. That's where the severe weather, right this moment, we have no severe weather. We only have one special weather statement out there. But if we have any severe weather form tonight, it's going to be along that line. And that line is going to move in this general direction. So you can see that we could get some thunder and lightning up here on the north end when it moves through Montgomery, Columbus, Roanoke. But the really severe stuff is going to be down here. And I think in Alabama, the locations with the absolute best chance of seeing a tornado or a severe thunderstorm is going to be in this area. That covers southern Alabama, the Mobile, Baldwin, Mobile Bay area. Gets over here toward Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, up toward Foley, Andalusia, Fort Walton Beach, maybe even down to Panama City, back over toward Dothan, Enterprise, Opp, Brantley, Luverne, all those places. It's where the absolute best chance for severe weather is concerned, and even tornadoes. Elrod, the birthday boy. Happy birthday. I didn't know you and Chuck had birthdays this close together. So that's the deal, folks. Looks like the worst of this is going to stay south, pretty much south of Montgomery. But don't let your guard down. We're still going to have a tremendous amount of rain and high winds all across East Alabama and West Georgia. Up here in the Northeast Georgia mountains, that wind and rain could be intensified because of the mountains. We're expecting 3 to 4 inches of rain up here, some localized 5 to 6 inches of rain, and wind gusts to 50 miles per hour up on the ridge tops. So we certainly could have some problems with trees as well as we go throughout the night. Now, we will continue to watch this. Our threshold to go live, to do live coverage, is going to be a tornado watch, with severe weather ongoing downstream. And I don't anticipate that happening for East Alabama and West Georgia. So this most likely will be our last. Broadcast for the night. But if something drastic were to change, then I'll certainly come right back, and we'll continue to give you coverage for East Alabama and West Georgia. But again, understand that the absolute best chance for severe weather will be along the southern tier of counties in Alabama, maybe even over into southwest Georgia. I'm not going to tell Albany that they're out of the woods. I'm not going to tell Donaldsonville that they're out of the woods. I mean, weather doesn't just stop at a state line, but I think the better chances in Georgia will be over in eastern Georgia, and that will be early tomorrow afternoon after the storms rejuvenate and we get a little heating of the day going. I think they're going to be in the process of weakening after they clear the Mobile, Pensacola area, and then they will re-intensify later on in the day tomorrow after the sun comes up. So that'll do it for now. Back to the ball game. We will watch this for you, and we'll jump back in here with you if we think there is a need. Otherwise, we'll be posting on Facebook. Good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. We'll see you back in here tomorrow morning with your primetime forecast. Hey, don't forget to pass the plate. If you guys can help us out here at Dr. Don's Weather, we certainly would appreciate it. All you got to do is go to our website, drdonwx.com. There's a donate button there on the home page. You can also send me a message on Messenger. I'll tell you how you can help us out if you can. We certainly would appreciate it. This stuff does cost money, and we do appreciate anything you can do to help us out. You guys be safe out there. Just stay home. Don't worry about it. Just tell them all Dr. Don said you could take the day off. I'll see you back in here tomorrow on Dr. Don's Weather. Good night, y'all.